There's a vast intelligence inside you. One that operates beyond thought, beyond memory, and even beyond time. Most people never tap into it. Not because it's unreachable, but because they don't know it exists. It isn't the subconscious, that reactive storehouse of habits and emotional baggage. And it isn't the conscious mind, that stream of surface-level thoughts and daily decision-making. It's something far more expansive. Something that connects you directly to the essence of reality itself. This is the realm of the superconscious mind. The superconscious isn't just a concept pulled from the edges of mysticism or spiritual teachings. It aligns surprisingly well with principles observed in quantum physics, principles that challenge everything we thought we knew about time, space, and identity. Scientists have uncovered startling insights that suggest our thoughts, intentions, and even the way we observe reality may directly influence the outcomes we experience. Yet most of us continue to live on autopilot, cycling through the same patterns, stuck in old emotional ruts, and wondering why transformation feels just out of reach. So here's the real question. Can you consciously connect with this higher level of intelligence? And use it to override the patterns that have ruled your life for years? Yes, absolutely. But the approach isn't found in surface-level affirmations or blind belief. It requires a different kind of awareness. One rooted in science, but activated through experience. And once you gain access to this deeper level of mind, everything begins to shift. This series is your invitation into that shift. You'll learn how to access the superconscious layer of your being with clarity and control. How to break free from mental loops that have shaped your identity. And how to realign yourself with a version of reality where your goals are not only possible but inevitable. Each part will take you through a precise and grounded exploration of the principles behind the superconscious mind. We'll look at how ancient traditions intuitively understood this intelligence, how modern neuroscience is catching up, and how quantum mechanics opens the door to limitless personal potential. We'll talk about visualization not as a fantasy, but as a form of neurological programming. We'll explore emotional frequencies and how they imprint onto the quantum field. And you'll learn how to shift timelines, not by escaping life, but by aligning with the reality your higher mind already sees. This is not about escaping problems. It's about becoming the type of consciousness that transforms them at the root. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You are simply disconnected from a greater part of yourself that already holds the blueprint to your next breakthrough. That blueprint exists in the superconscious. And starting now, you'll learn how to access it, to break free from old patterns, and to create a life designed by intelligence, not habit. Let's begin by understanding what this higher intelligence really is, and why it may already be shaping your life in ways you've never realized. There is a part of your mind that operates with precision, clarity, and an uncanny awareness of what you truly need, far beyond the grasp of conscious thinking. It's been labeled in many ways throughout history: the higher self, divine intelligence, the quantum self. But today, we're calling it what modern psychology and metaphysics converge upon: the superconscious mind. To understand the superconscious, it helps to first contrast it with the two levels of mind you likely already know well. The conscious mind is the one you use every day. It's the thinking, reasoning layer, handling decisions, planning, and logic. It's also the part that often gets stuck trying to figure things out. The subconscious mind runs quietly in the background. It's responsible for your habits, conditioned responses, emotional patterns, and deeply embedded beliefs. It doesn't think. It reacts. Most of what you call your personality is shaped by this layer, especially if it goes unexamined. But the superconscious? This operates on a level above both. It's not tied to your past. It doesn't store emotional wounds or trauma. And it doesn't deal in fear, doubt, or confusion. Instead, it acts more like a cosmic operating system, one that sees the entire map of your life, not just the next step. It has access to solutions, insights, and possibilities that your conscious and subconscious minds cannot compute on their own. Throughout human history, this intelligence has been referenced again and again. In Vedic texts, it was called the Atman, pure, indivisible awareness. In Kabbalistic teachings, it showed up as the higher soul. In Christian mysticism, it was the inner Christ. Across indigenous traditions, it appeared as spirit guides, ancestral wisdom, or the great knowing. These were not vague spiritual metaphors. They were direct encounters with a higher level of consciousness, accessible not just to saints or mystics, but to anyone willing to quiet the noise of the lower mind. Modern neuroscience adds more fuel to the fire. In deep meditation, altered brain states reveal synchronized activity across different hemispheres, suggesting a kind of inner unification that enhances intuitive capacity. Studies of peak performance reveal moments of flow where individuals operate with effortless genius, responding to complex situations with insight they can't rationally explain. These are glimpses into the superconscious at work. And then there's quantum theory. This is where the discussion moves from inner awareness to the nature of reality itself. Quantum experiments have demonstrated that particles do not exist in fixed states until they are observed. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. Electrons behave like clouds of potential until attention is placed upon them. Then they collapse into one state defined by that active focus. In essence, observation influences outcome. Now consider what that means when applied to the mind. If reality responds to observation, and the superconscious operates as a form of awareness beyond ordinary observation, then the act of connecting to this intelligence might literally change how reality takes shape around you. The superconscious doesn't predict the future. It navigates the field of possibility where multiple outcomes already exist. This is where traditional spirituality meets cutting-edge science, a place where multiple timelines coexist, and your state of awareness determines which one you align with. That's not magic. That's mechanics operating at a different level. You might ask, why haven't more people tapped into this? Why isn't this part of everyday life? Because accessing the superconscious requires a shift in perception. It asks you to let go of the mental noise and survival programming that dominate daily thought. It requires space, inner stillness, so that something deeper can come through. The good news is this is not about belief. It's about alignment. The more you practice tuning into this higher level of intelligence, the more obvious it becomes that you were never disconnected from it, only distracted. So let's recap what we now understand. The superconscious is a higher level of mind, beyond thought, beyond time. It has been known across cultures and confirmed in part by neuroscience and quantum theory. It connects you to the larger field of intelligence shaping your life outcomes. And it can be accessed through practices that quiet the lower mind and attune you to presence, clarity, and inner coherence. In upcoming parts, we'll explore how this understanding of the superconscious connects to the very fabric of reality. Through the lens of quantum science, you'll discover how your thoughts, emotions, and intentions imprint directly onto the field, and how to use that awareness to break free from repeating the same old life patterns. This is about more than awareness. It's about transformation. At the level where reality begins, let's continue. Reality doesn't work the way we were taught in school. We were led to believe it's solid, fixed, and objective. That cause always precedes effect in a linear sequence, and that our thoughts are confined to the space between our ears. But that model is outdated. Modern physics has dismantled the idea of a purely material universe and introduced something far more fascinating and liberating. Beneath the appearance of solidity, reality is made up of energy fields, waveforms, and probability clouds. These don't behave in static, predictable ways. Instead, they exist in a dynamic interplay with consciousness itself. Let's start with the foundational concept, non-locality. In quantum physics, non-locality refers to the phenomenon where two particles, once connected, continue to influence each other no matter how far apart they are, even across galaxies. This isn't just theoretical. It has been tested, measured, and confirmed. When one particle is altered, the other responds instantly. This connection is faster than light. No signal passes between them. Yet they behave as if they're part of a single unified system. Now extend that idea beyond particles. If everything in the universe was once part of a singularity, then separated in the Big Bang, then everything is still connected at a quantum level. That includes you. Your thoughts, your emotional energy, and your awareness don't stay trapped in your body. They ripple outward into the field. This takes us directly to the second concept, the observer effect. Quantum experiments have shown that the act of observing a particle changes its behavior. When unobserved, particles exist in a state of potential, a probability field. But the moment they are measured or observed, they collapse into a specific location or state. What does this mean for you? It means that your awareness influences outcomes. When you focus attention on a possibility, consciously or unconsciously, you increase the likelihood of that possibility becoming real. This isn't metaphor. This is measurable in quantum labs. And it implies that your internal state of focus can alter the unfolding of external events. You are not passively watching reality. You are participating in it, shaping it moment to moment, through attention, emotion, and intention. But there's more. The third concept that changes the game is quantum superposition. This is the principle that particles can exist in multiple states at once until observed. In other words, a single electron could be here, there, or both until something causes it to take a definitive form. This breaks the rules of classical logic. But it also aligns with something that many ancient traditions have long understood. Reality is not one thing, it's a field of possibilities. And your role is not simply to survive within it, but to select from it. Your thoughts, especially when charged with strong emotion, function as a directive to the field. They shape the waveform into form. When you hold conflicting beliefs, you create interference patterns, scattered outcomes, confusion, delays. But when your inner alignment is coherent, clear, focused, and emotionally resonant, you become a powerful shaper of experience. This isn't just theoretical. Research in neuroscience supports it too. Studies on the reticular activating system, RAS, show how your brain acts like a filter, highlighting information that aligns with your beliefs and expectations. If you believe you're unlucky, your brain selectively focuses on events that confirm that. But if you shift the internal expectation, the brain begins to notice and prioritize different inputs, supporting new outcomes. It's not that your circumstances instantly change. It's that you change the version of reality your brain tunes into, which is exactly what quantum physics describes at a much deeper level. So let's connect the dots. If particles are not fixed but probabilistic, if attention shapes their behavior, and if your awareness functions as a participatory force in this process, then you are not locked into any one version of your life. The future is not determined by your past. It is shaped by your alignment with possibility. This is why the superconscious mind plays such a vital role. It operates beyond the filters of fear, doubt, and identity. It connects you to the broader field where solutions already exist, where healing, change, and breakthroughs are not only possible, they are accessible. But to work with that field, you must let go of the rigid, materialist view that says life is happening to you. You must begin to recognize that your inner world and the outer world are part of the same energetic system. When you change your internal frequency, you change your relationship with that system. Here's a practical way to think of it. Consider your mind as a radio tuner. The reality you experience depends on the frequency you tune into. Most people stay locked into the default channel, the one shaped by their upbringing, trauma, conditioning, and daily routines. But there are infinite channels available, and the superconscious holds the key to tuning into the ones you've never heard before. Quantum science doesn't just suggest this, it requires it. Reality is participatory. It is relational. It is shaped by your input. And when your input becomes intentional, when it originates from the clarity and intelligence of the superconscious, you gain access to possibilities that seem to defy logic but remain grounded in natural law. So what's the next step? You must begin to recognize that your thoughts are not passive. They are creative forces. Your emotions are not random. They are energetic signatures. Your focus is not meaningless. It is the trigger for quantum collapse. To access the deeper patterns shaping your life, you need more than positive thinking. You need alignment at every level: thought, emotion, belief, and attention. And the superconscious is the only part of your mind that can coordinate those levels from a higher vantage point. You don't need to fully understand quantum mechanics to benefit from this. You only need to recognize that reality is not fixed, that you are an active part of it, and that you can begin to work with the deeper intelligence inside you that sees beyond your current conditions. The science is clear. Your consciousness matters. Your attention shapes outcomes. And your superconscious awareness connects you to the field where new realities are waiting. Not someday, not in theory, now. Next, we'll explore how old thought loops and emotional patterns get embedded into your subconscious system, how they keep generating the same outcomes, and how you can begin to interrupt that cycle using quantum principles and superconscious insight. The field is listening. Now is the time to speak to it with clarity. Most people believe they are thinking, but what they're really doing is repeating. Every day, the average person has an estimated 60 to 70,000 thoughts. Yet research shows that over 90% of them are the same as the day before. These are not fresh insights or new ideas. They're recycled memories, habitual reactions, conditioned loops. This repetition isn't random. It's structural. Your brain is wired through a process called neuroplasticity, the capacity to strengthen certain neural pathways based on repeated use. The more a thought is activated, the stronger its network becomes. Eventually, it no longer requires your conscious attention. It fires automatically. Now, combine that with emotion. Each time you have a thought charged with strong emotion, whether it's frustration, anxiety, guilt, or shame, it creates a neurochemical reinforcement. That emotion tells the brain, "This is important. Keep this." So the next time something similar happens, the same reaction fires up again, whether it helps you or not. Over time, these thought-emotion loops become identity. You stop being a person having thoughts and start becoming the person shaped by those thoughts. You might even start saying things like, "I've always been this way," or, "I guess this is just who I am." But it isn't who you are. It's who you've become under the influence of unconscious repetition. This is the pattern loop. And unless it's disrupted, it will keep recreating the same emotional states, the same decisions, and the same reality over and over again. From a classical perspective, this seems unfortunate. From a quantum perspective, it's a breakthrough waiting to happen. In the quantum model, reality isn't defined by linear cause and effect. It's governed by fields of frequency. Thoughts, emotions, and beliefs carry measurable energetic signatures. They interact with the quantum field, an invisible web of probability and potential, and influence the outcomes that become real. In simple terms, your thought patterns don't just shape your inner world. They ripple into the fabric of reality itself. This means your repetitive, unconscious loops aren't just psychological. They are energetic instructions. They send a signal into the field, saying, "Give me more of this." And the field responds not because it's judging, but because it's reflective. It mirrors the energy you emit. You can't change your life by simply wishing it were different. You have to change the signal you're broadcasting, and that means breaking the loop. Let's go deeper into how this works. Your subconscious mind holds onto programs based on your past. These include beliefs about what's possible for you, emotional reactions to perceived threats, and habits formed in early life. Left unchecked, this inner script keeps looping, regardless of how badly you want change. You can try new behaviors. You can set goals. You can chase success. But if your underlying patterns aren't updated, you'll always revert to the familiar. The pattern pulls you back like gravity. That's where conscious awareness comes in. But not just any awareness. Not a fleeting aha moment that's quickly drowned out by daily stress. You need sustained awareness rooted in a deeper intelligence. This is where the superconscious becomes essential, while the conscious mind tries to will its way out of habits, and the subconscious clings to old emotional signatures. The superconscious sees the entire loop. It perceives the origin point, the outcome, and the alternative path all at once. It doesn't resist the old pattern. It simply offers a more coherent frequency. When you connect to that higher frequency, something powerful happens. You no longer need to battle your old thoughts. You simply stop feeding them. The superconscious doesn't argue with the loop, it bypasses it. It introduces a new vibration so clear, so aligned, that the old program becomes irrelevant. Think of it like changing a radio station. You don't fix the static. You tune to a frequency that carries a different signal entirely. and that signal becomes your new baseline. Let's talk about how to begin disrupting the loop. Start with this principle: awareness breaks the cycle. Not judgment, not suppression. Awareness. When a repetitive thought shows up, like, "I'll never succeed," or "I always mess things up," don't resist it. Observe it. Label it. Recognize it as a loop, not a truth. This distances your identity from the thought. Then ask, who is noticing this thought? The moment you ask that question, you shift into a new level of awareness. The observer, the witness, and from this position you access a kind of inner space, free from the story. That space is where the superconscious operates. Not in the noise, in the stillness that watches the noise. Now, here's the key. Repetition is not the enemy. It's the tool. You created your current patterns through repeated thought and emotion. You can create new patterns the same way, by consciously choosing thoughts aligned with your superconscious insights and reinforcing them through daily emotional practice. That means using visualization, elevated emotional states, and aligned intention, all covered in depth in upcoming parts. But even now, with just this awareness, you can begin the shift. Start paying attention to recurring thought patterns. Instead of engaging with them, identify them. Then, with a few deep breaths, mentally shift your focus to a preferred thought, something empowering, coherent, and elevated. Repeat it. Feel it. Let it become familiar. You're not trying to trick your mind. You're retraining your brain and body to resonate with a different frequency. One that doesn't match the loop you've been trapped in. The field responds to coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions align, they create a signal strong enough to override the noise. This is the essence of conscious interference. You're interrupting the loop, not with force, but with frequency. And each time you do this, you reinforce a new path. Your brain begins to rewire. Your nervous system begins to relax. Your energy shifts, and the pattern begins to dissolve. Not through struggle, through resonance. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, and that awareness has the power to stop the cycle. Through the lens of quantum science, your reality isn't fixed. It's selected. The pattern you've lived with up to this point is not permanent. It's just the one you've tuned into. Now, you know how to begin tuning differently. In the next part, we'll expand on this foundation by exploring how the observer effect, a core principle in quantum mechanics, reveals your ability to collapse new versions of reality through conscious awareness. And how your attention, when used deliberately, becomes the switch that rewrites your future. The loop ends here, not because you resist it, because you've outgrown it. Reality doesn't solidify on its own. It responds to the act of observation. This single insight, drawn from quantum physics, reshapes everything you thought you knew about cause and effect. It's known as the observer effect, and it has profound implications not just for how matter behaves in a laboratory, but for how your life unfolds moment by moment. In a landmark quantum experiment, scientists observed electrons behaving like waves when unmeasured, spreading out into fields of potential. But when those same electrons were observed or measured, they collapsed into particles. They went from everywhere to one place, from possibility to form. That collapse wasn't caused by instruments. It was caused by attention. Now expand that principle beyond electrons. If the building blocks of reality behave this way, then the larger systems built upon them, including your relationships, your body, your finances, and your future, are not as fixed as they seem. They remain fluid, until observed with focus and expectation. This makes your attention one of the most powerful forces in existence. Where you place it, how you use it, and the emotional energy behind it, determines what version of reality you experience. This isn't metaphor, it's measurable. So when you observe your life through the lens of fear, you collapse a version of reality that matches fear-based expectations. When you observe it through anger, you invite events that echo conflict and division. But when you observe through coherence, clarity, and emotional elevation, you activate a different set of outcomes altogether. Let's break this down. Your mind is a projector, not a passive screen. Every moment, it's casting frequencies into the quantum field, selecting from an infinite array of possibilities. These frequencies are shaped by your attention, what you focus on, and your intention, why you're focusing there. If your attention is scattered, or if it's dominated by past trauma and conditioned beliefs, the signal you send out becomes noisy, weak, incoherent. The reality that bounces back reflects that disarray. But if your attention becomes deliberate, steady, and emotionally aligned, the signal strengthens. You begin to collapse a version of reality that matches your higher frequency. This is where most people struggle. They don't realize that unconscious attention is still observation. When you ruminate on the past, when you obsess over what could go wrong, when you relive stories that no longer serve you, you're observing. And through that observation, you are selecting. Not intentionally, but effectively. The solution isn't to suppress your thoughts. It's to change the quality of your observation. And that begins with awareness of the observer itself. There's a part of you that can watch thought without becoming thought. It can witness emotion without being consumed by it. That part is your superconscious awareness. When you begin to stabilize in that space, you create a buffer between stimulus and reaction. You step out of the identity that's constantly responding to external events, and step into the presence that shapes them from within. Think of your current life like a slideshow. Each moment is a frame. Your observation, your focus, is the clicker. When you stop reacting to the slide you don't like, and begin observing it from a centered space, you unlock the ability to advance to the next frame intentionally. This is not denial. It's alignment. You're not ignoring current circumstances. You're observing them differently. And that change in perspective creates a change in energy. That energy collapses a new outcome. Now let's talk about the emotional component. Attention on its own is neutral. What gives it power is the emotion behind it. Emotion acts as a carrier wave, amplifying the signal you send into the field. This means if you focus on your goal with doubt, you collapse a version of reality that includes resistance. But if you focus on it with genuine gratitude, you collapse a version where its fulfillment is already underway. The key is emotional coherence, feeling now what you want to feel when the future arrives. This practice tells the field, this outcome is already real, and the field responds by aligning circumstances accordingly. Many people reverse this process. They wait for reality to change so they can feel better. But in quantum terms, reality changes because they feel better first. Not through denial, through conscious selection. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you consistently observe with belief and emotion. So how do you use this in real time? Start by becoming aware of your most dominant mental observations. Throughout your day, notice what you're placing your focus on. Not casually, but repeatedly. Do you mentally revisit your mistakes? Do you assume things won't work out? Do you rehearse conversations that haven't happened yet, filled with conflict? Each of these is a form of observation. Each one sends instructions to the field. When you catch yourself in these loops, interrupt them, not with force, but with presence. Take a breath. Shift your focus. Ask, what version of this moment am I choosing to observe? Then redirect your attention to a higher version. Maybe that looks like mentally visualizing a better outcome. Maybe it's emotionally embodying trust or peace. Maybe it's simply staying still and watching your thoughts pass like clouds, without reacting to them. In that space, you're not collapsing the same reality. You're creating space for a different one to emerge. The observer effect shows us that reality is not solid until we define it through focus. And the superconscious gives us the perspective to choose focus wisely. When your mind becomes the lens, and your emotion becomes the charge, the field becomes the canvas. So how can you make this more than a theory? Practice conscious observation. Not occasionally, consistently. Before reacting, pause. Before affirming a belief, check its frequency. Before telling the story again, ask yourself if it's the story you want to become real. Observation isn't passive. It's generative. You're not just watching life unfold. You are selecting versions of it with every glance of attention. Every thought you reinforce becomes a thread in the tapestry of your experience. Every emotion you dwell in becomes a color added to that thread. Every moment you become the observer rather than the reactor, you reclaim authorship over the reality being written around you. So now the question becomes, can you train your mind to observe the version of reality that already holds your desired outcome? Yes, through practice, through clarity, through emotion, and through your connection to the superconscious field that knows how to guide you there. In the next part, we're going to explore how to begin accessing that higher intelligence directly, not through guesswork, but through established pathways like flow states, gamma brainwaves, and internal coherence. You'll learn exactly how to connect with this higher mind so that observation becomes not just intentional, but inspired. Reality waits for your signal. Choose it with awareness. Choose it with power. Choose it with presence. There is an intelligence within you that already knows. It knows the solution before the problem appears. It knows the path before the journey begins. And it's not hidden behind years of training or complex rituals. It's available now. If you know how to reach it, this intelligence is not the thinking mind. The thinking mind analyzes, compares, remembers, and projects. Useful, yes, but limited, especially when it comes to transformation. The intelligence we're talking about doesn't analyze, it aligns, connects you directly to truth, direction, and possibility. It's the superconscious. So how do you access it? First, you must understand the nature of the superconscious. It's not located in a specific part of the brain. It doesn't speak in language or logic. It exists as a state of awareness beyond thought. That state can be reached not by doing more but by doing less. Less striving, less mental noise, less resistance. This is not about losing control. It's about relaxing into a deeper level of order, one that was there all along. There are specific doorways into this state. Let's walk through them. The first doorway is stillness. When you enter a state of mental stillness, free from the constant chatter of internal commentary, you create space. In that space, the superconscious begins to move, not with loud instructions, but with quiet clarity. Insights arise, solutions appear, patterns make sense. Stillness doesn't mean emptiness. It means silence at a level below thought, like the ocean beneath the surface waves. One of the fastest ways to reach that stillness is through conscious breathing. Breath acts as a bridge between body and awareness. Slow, rhythmic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, shifting you out of fight or flight and into a state of receptivity. In this state, your brain begins to shift out of high beta, where stress and overthinking live, and into alpha and theta, where superconscious signals can be received. Practice this daily. Close your eyes. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Repeat. Let the breath guide you into deeper quiet. Stay there. Let go of needing to achieve anything. The access happens in the letting go. The second doorway is heart-brain coherence. This is more than emotion. It's physiology. When your heart and brain are in sync, your body produces a measurable electromagnetic field that is coherent, ordered, stable, and harmonized. In this state, communication between the two becomes optimal. You feel grounded and expanded at the same time. Research from the HeartMath Institute has shown that when people generate emotions like gratitude, compassion, or appreciation, their heart rhythms become smooth and synchronized. This harmony sends a signal to the brain, improving cognitive function, creativity, and intuitive perception. You are literally creating the internal conditions required to access the superconscious. Here's a technique to build heart-brain coherence. Place your attention on the area of your heart. Begin to breathe a little more slowly and deeply than usual. As you do, recall a feeling of appreciation. Not a memory, just the emotion. Hold that feeling. Stay with it. Let it grow. As you sustain this feeling, your entire energy system begins to shift. You become a clearer receiver. The field becomes more accessible. You're no longer locked in mental analysis. You're aligned with intuitive knowing. The third doorway is gamma brainwave frequency. Most people operate in beta, highly focused, often stressed. Deeper meditative states drop into alpha and theta. But gamma? That's something different. Gamma is the highest known frequency of brainwave activity, associated with heightened perception, peak awareness, and expanded consciousness. Monks in deep meditation, creative geniuses, and individuals having transcendent experiences often exhibit bursts of gamma activity. Gamma waves reflect synchronized neural activity across distant parts of the brain, indicating a kind of whole brain activation. When this happens, it's as though the superconscious is orchestrating multiple systems at once. This is not achieved by effort. It arises when deep presence combines with elevated emotion and intention. The key is not to chase gamma, but to create the conditions for it. That means daily mindfulness or meditative practice, emotional regulation, focused intention without attachment, even a few minutes of true presence, free from distraction, rich in awareness, can open that state. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're matching it. Presence is the fourth and most vital pathway. The superconscious doesn't live in the past. It doesn't plan the future. It exists now. Every time you anchor into the present moment without rushing to fix, change, or achieve, you create access. Start noticing how often your mind pulls away from presence. Watch the pull to check your phone, to multitask, to seek stimulation. Each one is a distraction from the signal. Presence is simple but not easy. Takes practice. But the rewards are massive. Clarity, direction, peace, and access to intelligence far beyond your personal history. Let's recap these access points. Stillness, the space beneath thought. Breath, the rhythm that calms the system. Heart-brain coherence, emotional alignment with physical resonance. Gamma states, synchronization across neural networks. Presence, the eternal now where all access begins. These are not rituals. They're conditions. And when those conditions are met, the superconscious reveals itself, not as something foreign, but as something familiar. It was always there. You just forgot how to listen. Start small. One breath, one pause, one moment of gratitude, then another. Let it build. Let it become a habit. Eventually, you won't have to search for access. You'll live in alignment with it. This is not about achieving enlightenment. It's about restoring communication with a part of yourself that's been waiting in silence. The superconscious doesn't shout. It whispers. But its whispers carry power because they come from a place deeper than thought, beyond fear, and untouched by conditioning. In the next part, you'll learn how to take what you access in that space and begin programming it into your reality, through intentional visualization and conscious mental rehearsal. Not as daydreaming, but as a form of quantum alignment that trains your brain and body to expect and receive a new outcome. You are closer to that intelligence than you've ever been. Not because it moved, because you did. Now the real creation begins. There is a common misconception that visualization is wishful thinking, that it's a creative escape from the hard facts of reality. But in truth, visualization is a neurological and quantum tool, a way of deliberately interfacing with the deeper structure of existence. The images you consistently hold in your mind are not neutral. They carry frequency, they shape perception, they alter behavior, and most importantly, they send precise instructions into the field that reflects reality back to you. Visualization is not daydreaming. It's programming. Before anything becomes real, it first becomes imagined. Every invention, breakthrough, or transformation started as a mental image. But here's what most people miss. The mind doesn't fully distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. This is where the science becomes powerful. Functional MRI scans have shown that when individuals visualize a physical movement, like lifting a weight, the same areas of the brain light up as when they actually perform the movement. The neurons don't wait for physical action. They begin rewiring based on mental rehearsal alone. In one study, participants who only visualized practicing piano exercises without touching a key showed nearly the same neurological growth as those who physically practiced. Their brains changed simply because they imagined in detail. This tells us one thing: your brain doesn't need physical proof to begin shifting. It needs clarity and repetition. Now let's pair that with quantum principles. At the quantum level, reality exists in a field of probabilities. This field responds to coherent intention, especially when it's backed by clear mental images and emotional energy. Visualization becomes the method through which you choose which possibility to collapse. But not all visualization is effective. Casual imagining won't create transformation. Effective visualization requires three things: clarity, emotion, and embodiment. Let's explore each one. First, clarity. Vague images lead to vague outcomes. When you visualize, you must be specific not only about what you want, but about how it feels, how it looks, what's different. Your subconscious and the field respond to precision. Instead of imagining success, see the moment your project is complete. See your inbox filled with thank you messages. See the expression on someone's face when you deliver results. Make the scene as detailed as possible. The more specific your vision, the stronger the signal it sends. Second, emotion. Emotion is the amplifier. It tells your body, this is real. When you combine visual imagery with elevated emotional states, like gratitude, confidence, love, or certainty, you create a bioelectric signature that is far more powerful than thought alone. It's not enough to think about what you want. You must feel it as though it's already yours. This tells the brain and body to reorganize around that new possibility. The nervous system begins expecting that outcome, and expectation shifts perception, decision-making, and behavior. Every cell in your body begins to match the future you're envisioning. Third, embodiment. This is the key most people miss. Visualization isn't just about seeing from the outside. It's about experiencing from the inside. You must mentally place yourself inside the outcome. Feel your breath, your posture, your voice. Feel the shift in your energy. Feel the calm of completion, the pride of contribution, the joy of receiving. When you embody the future in the present moment, you create a time bridge. The subconscious mind does not argue. It doesn't say, this hasn't happened yet. It accepts what you repeatedly experience as real and begins shaping behavior to match. This is where true programming occurs. Now let's walk through a powerful visualization process that integrates all three principles. Start by sitting quietly and grounding your breath. Let the body relax. Close your eyes. Bring your attention to your heart. Begin to breathe slowly and evenly. Once centered, bring to mind a specific outcome you wish to experience. Not a fantasy, but a version of your future that aligns with your highest potential. See it clearly. Fill in the details. What are you doing? Where are you? Who's with you? Now bring in the emotion. How do you feel in that moment? Confident? Fulfilled? Relieved? Let that emotion spread through your chest, your face, your spine. Let it grow. Let it become real. Finally, step into the scene. See through your own eyes. Hear what you hear. Feel the texture of the moment. Let yourself move and speak and breathe as that version of you. Let your body believe it. Stay there. No rush. Let the experience imprint. Even 5 minutes of this practice done consistently begins to rewire your brain. Over time, it becomes automatic. The vision begins to replace old mental loops. The emotional state becomes familiar. And you begin to move differently because your nervous system is now aligned with a different future. This isn't magic. It's biology. It's quantum alignment. And it's supported by more than just studies on imagination. Athletes use this technique to mentally rehearse peak performance. Speakers visualize delivery. Surgeons mentally walk through procedures. It's a form of mental rehearsal, but in your case, it's not just preparing for an event. It's choosing a version of reality and aligning your entire system with it. And remember, the field responds to consistency. Don't visualize once and expect dramatic shifts. This is not about a single burst of imagination. It's about consistent tuning. You're programming a new frequency, one that must override years of unconscious loops. Be patient. Be precise. Repeat. This is not a quick fix. It's a shift in identity. You're not trying to create a better version of your life. You're becoming the version of you who already lives that life. Visualization is how you send the instruction. Emotion is how you power the signal. Embodiment is how you make it real. Together, they create coherence. And coherence collapses a new reality from the quantum field. In the next part, we'll build on this foundation by looking at parallel realities, and how every possibility you visualize isn't just a fantasy, but but an actual version of reality that already exists in the field. You'll learn how to identify the frequency of the timeline you want, and how to shift into it with precision. You are not rehearsing possibility. You are remembering potential. And with every image you hold in your mind, you are reprogramming the story of your life. You are not on a single fixed path. You are surrounded by infinite versions of reality, each one shaped by slightly different choices, perceptions, beliefs, and emotional states. These aren't fantasy. They are real, measurable possibilities that exist in the quantum field. And your awareness functions as the switch that selects between them. This is not a New Age metaphor. It's rooted in serious scientific theory. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, first proposed by Hugh Everett in 1957, suggests that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually exists in a separate parallel reality. In simple terms, all versions of a possibility are equally real, just existing in different branches of the multiverse. You are not locked into one life story. You are choosing between versions of it, consciously or unconsciously, every moment of the day. And here's the part that changes everything. Your state of consciousness determines which version becomes dominant. Let's make this practical. Every timeline, a specific outcome or life scenario, carries a unique energetic signature. That signature is made up of the thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions that define it. For example, the version of your life where you feel confident, financially free, and deeply connected to others exists in the quantum field. It has its own frequency, and that frequency is different from the version where you feel stuck, insecure, and alone. The field doesn't choose between these versions. You do by matching the frequency of one version through your internal state. This is the art of timeline selection. It's not about changing the external world. It's about changing the inner lens through which you observe, feel, and respond, because that lens determines which branch of reality becomes real for you. Here's how it works. Your brain is a frequency tuner. It filters billions of bits of information and selects a tiny percentage to focus on. That selection process is governed by your beliefs, expectations, and emotions. When you shift your beliefs, you change your filter. When you elevate your emotional state, you change your electromagnetic signal. When you change the way you observe a situation, you literally collapse a different possibility from the quantum field. You don't need to know the physics to understand the power. You already experience this in your life. Think of a day when you woke up feeling off. The world seemed hostile, opportunities felt scarce, and small problems turned into big ones. Now think of a day when you were energized, optimistic, and aligned. People responded differently. Ideas flowed. Solutions appeared. The external world didn't change. Your state did, and that changed the version of reality you experienced. The shift was real. You moved to a different timeline. So how do you choose timelines with purpose? The process starts with awareness. First, identify the version of reality you've been unconsciously selecting. What's the dominant emotion in your day-to-day life? What thoughts run through your mind on repeat? What story are you telling yourself about who you are and what's possible? These patterns are not neutral. They're selection tools. They're placing you in resonance with a specific version of your life. Now decide, is this the timeline you want? If not, the next step is to identify the frequency of the timeline you do want. Ask yourself, if that version of me already existed, what would I be thinking? How would I feel? How would I carry myself? What would I tolerate or release? What would I no longer chase because I already know it's on the way? Let those answers become your new baseline. And here's where it becomes more than mindset. It becomes embodied alignment. You must begin to live as the version of you who's already on that new timeline. Not through pretending, not through forcing, but by generating the emotional and mental conditions that match that version, consistently, deliberately, and with full presence. This isn't just about visualizing it once in meditation. It's about how you show up in conversations, how you respond to challenges, how you speak to yourself when no one is watching. Timeline shifting is not a one-time leap. It's a series of micro-adjustments made with clarity and conviction that align your frequency with a higher possibility. And yes, resistance will show up. Your nervous system has been conditioned to match your current reality. When you begin to shift, your brain may flag it as unsafe or unfamiliar. Doubt might rise. Old habits may pull you back. This is not failure. It's feedback. It means your system is recalibrating. When this happens, return to your practices. Breathwork, coherence, visualization, presence. Let your new alignment become more familiar than the old one. Over time, the resistance fades. The new version stabilizes, and the quantum field reflects it. Here's a simple framework to begin using today. Pause several times a day. Stop and notice your state. Tune. Ask, which version of reality am I selecting right now? Choose, intentionally shift into the thoughts and feelings that match your desired timeline. Act. Make a micro-decision that reinforces that version of you. Even a posture, a word, or a smile can be part of the shift. Each time you do this, you strengthen the frequency of your chosen timeline. And the field responds not instantly but inevitably. This is not manipulation. It's resonance. You don't force the future. You become the future. And the future meets you in return. Let's clear up one final misunderstanding. Timeline shifting isn't about avoiding reality. It's not an escape hatch. It's about owning your creative power and using it responsibly. You're not leaving your life, you're recalibrating it from the inside out, based on a higher version of yourself that already exists. You're not making the future real. You're becoming real enough to meet it. In the next part, you'll learn how to clear the greatest barrier to shifting timelines, your attachment to identity. You'll explore how old stories, roles, and labels trap you in loops of repetition, and how the superconscious sees beyond all of them, offering a perspective that transcends the need to defend or define yourself at all. The timeline is waiting. It always was. Now you know how to choose it. There's a silent force that shapes your thoughts, colors your emotions, and limits your decisions more than any external circumstance ever could. It's not your environment. It's not your past. It's not even your current situation. It's your identity. Identity is the internal story you've accepted about who you are. It's the accumulation of memories, beliefs, roles, and labels that define you, not because they're objectively true, but because they've been repeated so often, they've become familiar. You think you are your preferences, your history, your limitations, but you are not. You are the awareness behind those things. And the longer you remain entangled with a fixed sense of self, the harder it becomes to create meaningful change, because all change that threatens your identity feels unsafe, even if it's exactly what you need. Let's break this down. Your brain is designed to protect the known. It craves certainty, even if that certainty is painful. If you've spent years reinforcing the idea that I'm not good with money, or I always attract the wrong people, or I can't focus, then any evidence that challenges that belief feels disorienting, even threatening. The brain's response is to reject or sabotage the unfamiliar, not because it's wrong, but because it doesn't match your self-image. This is why people fear success as much as they fear failure. Not because they can't achieve it, but because it conflicts with the internal blueprint they've unconsciously built. This blueprint is your identity. And if you want to access the superconscious fully, you must learn to step outside of it. Here's the truth. Your identity is not fixed. It's chosen. The superconscious doesn't see you as limited, broken, or defined by past experience. It sees the whole. It sees your potential timeline as already real. It sees your core as pure awareness, not the story wrapped around it. So how do you begin to break the trap? First, become aware of how you describe yourself, both internally and externally. What do you say after the words, I am tired, I am stuck, I am bad with people, I am not creative? These are not descriptions. They are commands. And your subconscious listens to them without question. Begin questioning every identity statement that feels limiting. Ask, is this who I am? Or who I've been trained to believe I am? Then take it deeper. Ask, who is the one noticing this thought? The moment you ask that, you've already begun shifting into a different layer of awareness. You are no longer just the thought, you are the observer of the thought. And that observer is not defined by history. It sees identity as temporary, like clothes you wear for a season, not the skin you live in forever. Here's a practice you can begin right now. Start a journal with 2 columns. On the left, write every identity statement that surfaces over the course of your day. I'm always overwhelmed. I can't change. I'm too sensitive. I'm the type who avoids conflict. Be brutally honest. Let them come up without editing. On the right side, rewrite each statement from the perspective of the superconscious. Not in blind optimism, but in alignment with your higher truth. Instead of, I'm always overwhelmed, write, I am learning to remain steady in the midst of pressure. Instead of, I can't change, write, I am choosing differently now. This isn't about pretending. It's about shifting frequency, choosing to tune into a new version of yourself before your outer world catches up. Now go further. Start noticing the roles you unconsciously play. These may include the rescuer, the victim, the perfectionist, the overachiever, the people-pleaser, the rebel, the invisible one. Each of these roles comes with its own script, automatic thoughts, reactions, and habits. You may wear them to feel safe, accepted, or validated. But every role has a cost. It limits how much of you can show up in the moment. The superconscious sees no roles. It only sees energy, coherence, and alignment. It sees possibility. When you begin releasing roles, even briefly, you create space for that possibility to flow through. You don't have to destroy your identity. You simply stop defending it. You begin saying, that was me, but it's not me now. I believed that, but I see differently today. I needed that story, but I don't need it anymore. Let the past version of yourself retire with respect. Thank it for the protection it offered. Then step aside and let the new energy in. Another powerful way to release identity traps is through inner dialogue restructuring. Each time a thought like, I'm not ready or I always fail arises, pause. Don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Instead, respond like the superconscious would. Say, that's a thought, not a truth. Say, that may have been true once. It's not true now. Say, I choose a different voice now. This neutralizes the energy of the old identity, creates a fork in the road. One path leads to the same loop. The other leads to a new expression of self. Here's a final insight. The identity you cling to most tightly is often the one causing the most suffering. When you feel the greatest resistance to letting something go, a belief, a label, a personality trait, that's usually where the breakthrough lives. The superconscious isn't asking you to lose yourself. It's asking you to release the version of yourself that no longer fits. Growth is not becoming someone new. It's becoming more fully who you already are, beneath the layers, beneath the labels, beneath the noise. You are not your trauma. You are not your failures. You are not even your accomplishments. You are the space within which all of those experiences arise. And when you begin living from that space, rather than from a rigid sense of identity, you unlock freedom, creativity, and alignment like never before. Next, we'll look at how emotion, often misunderstood or suppressed, is actually one of the most powerful tools for accessing and influencing the quantum field. You'll learn how to use emotional energy as fuel, not as a weight, and how to consciously shift your frequency to manifest with greater speed and precision. You are not here to become who you were yesterday. You are here to remember who you are beyond the story. And that memory begins now. Emotion is energy, not in a poetic sense, in a literal, measurable way. Your heart emits an electromagnetic field many times stronger than that of your brain. And this field changes based on your emotional state. Every emotion you feel, joy, fear, anger, gratitude, carries a unique vibrational signature. These vibrations don't just affect your mood. They affect your frequency, and that frequency determines how you interact with the quantum field. When you hold a sustained emotional state, you generate a consistent signal. That signal interacts with the probabilities in the field, increasing the likelihood that you will collapse a version of reality that matches it. This is why two people can walk into the same room, meet the same people, and walk out with two completely different experiences. It's not the environment, it's the frequency they brought with them. And emotion is the driver of that frequency. Let's make this clear. Emotion isn't weakness. Emotion isn't distraction. Emotion is your amplifier. It's what tells the field, this is what matters. It's what tells your subconscious, this is the reality to expect. And it's what tells your body, this is who we are now. Most people treat emotion as a byproduct of circumstance, something they feel after something happens. But in the quantum model, emotion is not reactive. It's creative. When you learn to generate elevated emotions independent of external conditions, you take back control over your frequency. You stop waiting for life to shift your state, and instead, you use your state to shift life. Let's get specific. There are low-frequency emotions: fear, guilt, shame, anger, frustration. These states produce chaotic, disorganized electromagnetic fields. They contract your energy. They make it harder to think clearly, connect authentically, or perceive opportunity. Then there are high-frequency emotions: gratitude, love, joy, inspiration. These states create coherence, a harmonious pattern in your heart's rhythm. That coherence extends to your brain, improving function, clarity, and intuition. It extends to your nervous system, reducing stress and inflammation. And it extends to the quantum field, broadcasting a stable signal that pulls matching experiences toward you. This isn't about suppressing negative emotions. Suppression creates fragmentation. What's required is emotional awareness, the ability to recognize a low-frequency state, allow it briefly, and then choose a higher one intentionally. You are not a victim of your emotional state. You are its generator. Let's talk about how to shift emotional frequency in real time. Step 1. Recognition. You can't shift what you don't notice. Most people move through their day emotionally reactive, bouncing between stress responses without ever identifying the root. Start pausing throughout the day and simply ask, what am I feeling right now? Is this emotion helping me or hindering me? Does this state match the reality I want to create? You don't have to fix the emotion immediately. Just observe it, name it, and give it space. Step 2. Interruption. Once you recognize a low-frequency emotion, disrupt the loop. Do something physical. Breathe deeply. Stand up. Step outside. Put your hand on your heart and press gently. These small actions send a signal to your body that a state change is coming. Step 3. Elevation. Now, intentionally generate an elevated emotion. This might feel artificial at first. That's okay. You're not trying to fake happiness. You're choosing a higher signal. Close your eyes. Breathe into your heart. Bring to mind a moment of appreciation. It doesn't have to be dramatic, just real. Let that feeling expand. Hold it. Repeat this until your internal chemistry changes. You've now shifted your frequency. That shift is your point of power. Do this consistently, and you begin training your nervous system to default to elevated states. Not as a performance, as a new baseline. Let's go further. Each emotion also carries a message. Fear often says, pay attention. Anger says, something must change. Guilt says, you've betrayed your values. These are not bad messages, but they are incomplete without conscious processing. The superconscious doesn't reject emotion. It simply translates it without identification. It sees anger, but doesn't become it. It sees fear, but doesn't get paralyzed by it. The key is not to live in a constant high. It's to move through your emotional states with agility, acknowledging, elevating, and aligning them with your vision. Now let's talk about emotional rehearsal. This is where quantum influence becomes deliberate. If you want to manifest a reality where you feel peace, confidence, abundance, or love, you must generate those emotions now, before the external world gives you a reason to. This tells the field, this is my reality. Match it. More importantly, it tells your subconscious, this is safe. This is familiar. Let's expect it. You begin creating a neurological and energetic match for the timeline you want to live. And the more you rehearse that state, especially in combination with visualization and coherence techniques, the faster your outer world begins to reflect it. Let's simplify the process. Identify the emotion that matches your desired reality. Practice feeling it daily, through breath, gratitude, memory, or intention. Anchor it to a physical cue, a hand gesture, posture, or mantra. Repeat until your nervous system adopts it as familiar. This isn't emotional trickery. It's energetic mastery, and it's supported by the same science that governs quantum fields and biological systems. Now, a common objection. Isn't this just emotional bypassing? No. Bypassing is ignoring or denying pain. Mastery is meeting emotion with presence, then choosing alignment anyway. You can acknowledge sorrow without becoming sorrow. You can feel fear without living in fear. The difference is where you choose to return after the wave passes. You always return to your dominant frequency, and that frequency creates. Here's a final shift. Instead of asking, how do I get what I want? Begin asking, how do I need to feel to become a match for what I want? This question changes everything. It shifts the focus from chasing results to cultivating resonance. Places power back in your hands. It trains your attention on the one thing you control at all times, your state. Next, we'll take this emotional foundation and build it into a powerful new framework for manifestation. Not based on wishful thinking or surface affirmations, but grounded in quantum coherence and superconscious alignment. You'll learn how to co-create with the field, not as a passive receiver, but as a conscious designer of your reality. Your emotion is not the obstacle. It is the instruction. And now you know how to send the right signal. Manifestation has become a buzzword, often wrapped in vague promises and misapplied optimism. But beyond the surface-level slogans and oversimplified affirmations, there's a deeper, structured process that aligns directly with the principles of both neuroscience and quantum physics. This is not about wishing. It's not about chanting mantras and hoping the universe delivers. It's about understanding the mechanics of coherence, how thought, emotion, and intention, when brought into alignment, form the blueprint that the quantum field responds to. Let's redefine manifestation with clarity. Manifestation is the process of selecting and stabilizing a potential from the quantum field through energetic congruence. It is not something you do. It's something you allow by matching the internal conditions to the outcome you desire. Think of the quantum field as a sea of infinite probability. Every version of your future already exists within it. The one that becomes your reality is the one you're energetically attuned to most consistently. Now here's where most people get stuck. They think they're manifesting because they say what they want. But the field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to your dominant signal, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and expectations combined. This is why someone can say, I want abundance, but still manifest scarcity. Because beneath the words is a frequency of fear, lack, and uncertainty. The signal doesn't match the request. There is no judgment in this process, only reflection. The field mirrors your coherence, not your wishes. Let's break this down. Effective manifestation requires three things: clear intention, elevated emotion, consistent embodiment. We've touched on each of these in previous parts, but now we bring them together as a system. Clear intention means knowing exactly what you're choosing. Not in a controlling way, but in a focused way. The brain needs a target. The field needs a signal. Vague goals produce vague results. Write it down. Define it. Not in excessive detail, but in meaningful essence. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How will you know when it's real? Clarity creates direction. Elevated emotion is the fuel. Without it, the intention remains flat. Emotion gives your vision life. Gratitude, joy, certainty, love. These aren't just nice feelings. They are vibrational accelerants. They activate heart-brain coherence and send a stronger, clearer signal to the field. When you combine a clear intention with a deeply felt emotion, you create coherence. That coherence becomes a magnet, not metaphorically, but energetically. Now comes the third piece: consistent embodiment. This is where real manifestation occurs. You must become the version of you who already has what you're asking for. Not pretend, not fake it. Live it internally first, then externally. This means acting, speaking, deciding, and responding from the identity of the future you, the one who's already there. Ask yourself daily, how would that version of me think? How would they start their day? What choices would they stop making? Each time you act in alignment with that future self, you collapse resistance. You align mind, emotion, and behavior into one coherent stream. That stream sends a strong enough signal to the field that reality begins to reconfigure around you. Let's be clear. This is not instant. You're not snapping your fingers and bending reality. You're working with universal feedback loops, and those loops need repetition to stabilize. The more consistent your signal, the faster your environment responds. Now let's address why traditional affirmations often fall flat. Repeating a sentence over and over like, I am successful, while internally feeling doubt and fear creates energetic dissonance. The conscious mind is saying one thing, but the subconscious is screaming the opposite. The field responds to the stronger frequency. If that frequency is doubt, the affirmation is overridden. Not because affirmations don't work, but because coherence was missing. To fix this, stop affirming what you don't believe. Start affirming what you can emotionally accept. If I am wealthy feels false, try I am open to new sources of income. If I am powerful feels distant, say I am remembering my strength. Let your affirmation evolve as your frequency strengthens. Manifestation is not about repeating statements. It's about becoming a vibrational match for what you say you want. Every part of your being must agree. Thought, emotion, action, identity. When these align, the field responds rapidly. Because now the signal is clean. Let's walk through a manifestation ritual that brings this into practice. Define your vision. Write it, speak it, make it precise. This sets the intention. Generate the emotion. Use breath, memory, gratitude, anything that creates the feeling of having it now. Step into the role. Visualize yourself inside that version of life. Walk, talk, and feel as that person. Anchor the state. Use a cue, like touching your chest or a single word, to associate with that emotion. Reinforce daily. Repetition is not for the universe, it's for you. To stabilize your own frequency. Now here's a subtle but critical truth. Let go of when and how. Once you've aligned your signal, your job is not to monitor the outcome. Your job is to stay consistent with the identity that aligns with it. The superconscious doesn't force results. It opens pathways. Your responsibility is to remain in harmony with that opening, not to chase it, doubt it, or micromanage it. The moment you begin stressing about the outcome, you collapse your frequency into fear. That tells the field, this isn't real, and the field listens. Trust is not optional. It's part of the vibration. You're not just creating, you're co-creating. The field works with your energy, not your anxiety. With your alignment, not your urgency. One final shift to hold. Stop trying to make things happen. Start making room for them to happen. When your thoughts are coherent, your emotions are elevated, and your identity is aligned, you don't need to force reality. Reality moves toward you because you're the match for it. Next, you'll learn how to take this power of coherence even deeper. By actively rewriting past patterns and memories stored in your subconscious using superconscious intervention. You'll discover how to interrupt trauma loops, revise identity imprints, and install new energetic instructions into your timeline. You're not asking the universe to give you something. You're becoming the kind of consciousness that naturally receives it. That's not magic. That's alignment. Old patterns don't fade because you want them to. They persist because they've been etched into your system, neurologically, emotionally, and energetically. These patterns often feel immovable because they were formed during moments of high emotional intensity or long-term repetition. But no matter how deeply embedded they seem, they are not permanent. They can be interrupted. They can be rewritten. And the most powerful way to do that is through superconscious intervention. This is not about positive thinking. This is not about ignoring the past. It's about using a higher level of awareness, one that operates beyond the limits of your personality, trauma, and memory, to initiate change at the core level of identity. The superconscious doesn't heal by fixing. It heals by reorganizing your system to match a more coherent blueprint, one that already exists beyond the distorted narrative of your past. Let's get clear on what a pattern is. A pattern is a loop of perception, belief, and behavior that keeps generating the same results. You experience something emotionally significant. That event gets stored in the subconscious. The brain wires a specific meaning to it, and from that meaning, new behaviors emerge. Those behaviors confirm the belief. The loop is complete. Example, you're criticized as a child. You feel unworthy. Your mind records, "My worth is conditional." You begin to seek validation. You tolerate mistreatment. That reinforces the belief. And now it's not just a belief, it's your identity. The loop isn't just mental, it's energetic. You begin to broadcast the frequency of unworthiness. And the field reflects it back, not as punishment but as resonance. This is why you can't override old trauma patterns with logic. They were created at the level of experience. So they must be rewritten at the level of awareness and embodiment. Here's where the superconscious comes in. The superconscious operates beyond time. It sees the origin of the pattern, the consequences, and the alternative all at once. When you access this level of mind, you can introduce a new instruction to your subconscious system, one that overrides the original imprint. This process is not theoretical. It's specific. Let's break down the method of superconscious reprogramming. Identify the pattern. What keeps repeating? What outcome always circles back? Where does it show up? Relationships, money, health, self-worth. Trace the feeling, not the logic. Go to the emotion beneath the pattern. Is it fear, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection? Let the emotion rise without judgment. It's a doorway. Access the observer. Shift into the part of you that can see this emotion without becoming it. That awareness, the witness, is the bridge to the superconscious. Ask for the memory. From that calm, expanded state, ask your mind to show you the earliest version of this feeling. Don't force it. Just allow. Often a memory will appear not as a thought but as an image or a sense. Interrupt the imprint. Once you have the memory or emotional signature, you're not analyzing it. You're sending a new signal into it. Use the following language either silently or aloud. This is not who I am. This is a past imprint. I now update this memory with truth, safety, and coherence. Replace the pattern. In your mind, insert a new version of the event. One where the younger you is supported, seen, understood. Let the new emotion, love, worthiness, safety, flood the scene. Anchor the new signal. Hold that feeling in your body. Breathe it in. Let the system recalibrate. End the process by affirming, I install this update now. My system releases the loop. A new pattern begins. This is not a one-time fix. The more deeply a pattern is wired, the more often you'll need to repeat the process. But every time you do, you weaken the old signal. You reclaim more energy. And eventually, the old loop stops running. Now let's address trauma specifically. Trauma isn't the event itself. It's the unprocessed energy left in the system after the event. When you revisit these emotional residues from the observer state, you give the superconscious the opportunity to reprocess them. You're not reliving the past. You're reclaiming the energy locked in it. And that energy is what you now use to build a new timeline. Another method of intervention is revision. Before you sleep, mentally review your day. Anywhere you reacted from an old pattern, resentment, fear, scarcity, pause. In your mind, replay the moment. But this time, insert a new version of yourself. One who acted from presence, love, clarity. Let that new version complete the scene. This simple process teaches your subconscious. This is the new normal. Over time, your brain and nervous system begin adopting the new version as real. Not pretend. Real enough to affect perception and decision-making in future moments. Here's a key point. You are not fixing the past. You are reclaiming the energy it took from you and redistributing it into your present timeline. Now let's bring emotion into this. When you revise or reprogram, don't just think about the new version. Feel it. The superconscious responds to coherence. Let the new emotional frequency dominate the scene. Joy, empowerment, peace, freedom. Hold it. Repeat it. Let it imprint. What you feel during this process matters more than what you say. You're not convincing your subconscious. You're updating its operating system. Now let's address the resistance that may surface. Part of your identity may cling to the old pattern, not because it loves the pain, but because it feels familiar. Safety for the subconscious means predictability. So even chaos can feel safe if it's what you've always known. Don't shame yourself for that. Just notice it. Say to yourself, I acknowledge the fear of change, but I choose alignment now. That single moment of awareness begins to rewrite the loyalty to pain. And finally, remember this, patterns don't break through struggle. They break through new coherence, through giving your system something more resonant to follow. Each time you interrupt a trauma loop with presence. Each time you revise a memory with compassion. Each time you declare, this ends with me. You're not just healing. You're restructuring reality. You're telling the field, I am no longer broadcasting this version of me. And the field listens. Next, we'll explore how to live from the superconscious state. Not occasionally, but as a new paradigm. You'll learn how to stabilize in this awareness, how to make decisions from it, and how to allow this intelligence to guide your life with clarity, precision, and purpose. The pattern is not who you are. It was a fragment, and now you return to wholeness. You've done more than gather ideas. You've begun to reclaim a truth that's been with you all along. There's a level of awareness within you that sees clearly, chooses wisely, and operates beyond the limitations of circumstance or conditioning. This is the superconscious. It's not a state you visit. It's a presence you live from. And once you shift into that paradigm, you don't just experience change. You become change, not because you're forcing outcomes, but because your alignment makes old resistance irrelevant. Living from the superconscious means recognizing that everything is energy, and energy follows awareness. It means remembering that intention is causation, and attention is creation. It means being done with reacting to life and choosing to generate it. So what does this actually look like in practice? It means starting your day not by checking the external world for updates on who you are, but by tuning inward to reaffirm your identity at the level of frequency. You no longer wake up as the person shaped by past results. You wake up as the version of you aligned with your chosen reality. That version already exists. You don't have to build it. You simply have to live it today. And how you live it is by remembering these 5 core principles. Presence is access. The superconscious doesn't speak through urgency, doubt, or chaos. It speaks through stillness, precision, and subtle knowing. Every time you return to the present moment, you reconnect to that frequency. It's not hiding. It's waiting beneath the noise. Coherence is the signal. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions agree without contradiction, you become a coherent signal. That signal aligns with specific outcomes in the field. Chaos weakens the signal. Alignment strengthens it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to agree with yourself. Identity leads reality. You no longer chase outcomes to feel a certain way. You feel the way now, and let reality rearrange to match your internal state. You hold the vibration of success before the result arrives. You walk with clarity before the opportunity shows up. You let your state precede your evidence. Repetition is reinforcement. New timelines stabilize through repeated energetic patterns. This doesn't mean living in effort. It means living in rhythm. Daily practices of breath, visualization, emotional tuning, and intention don't just keep you focused. They rewire you. What was once unfamiliar becomes automatic. Choice is your power. At every moment, you are choosing a version of yourself. You're choosing what you notice, what you expect, what you allow, and what you repeat. Living from the superconscious means choosing from clarity, not fear. From knowing, not guessing. From alignment, not reaction. Now, let's talk about how to navigate the real world from this paradigm. Living from the superconscious doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you stop being defined by challenge. When a problem arises, you no longer collapse into old identity patterns. You meet it with the intelligence that sees past the surface. You ask, what is this showing me? You ask, how can I remain aligned here? You ask, what signal am I broadcasting right now? And is it one I choose? You are never the victim of circumstance. You are the frequency that shapes it. This awareness brings peace. Not because chaos disappears, but because you stop feeding it with your attention. And attention is everything. Your future doesn't need more struggle. It needs more clarity. Your goals don't need more hustle. They need more alignment. The version of you that already lives your dream life is not working harder. It's vibrating differently. And now, so are you. Let's address integration. Knowledge without practice changes nothing. So here are the daily rituals that keep you anchored in the superconscious state. Morning calibration. Begin your day with 5 minutes of stillness, breath, or heart coherence. Set an intention. Choose your emotional baseline before life chooses it for you. Midday reset. Take conscious pauses. Observe your state. Ask, am I in reaction or in creation? Shift as needed. Evening revision. Reflect on your day. Celebrate coherence. Rewrite any moments where the old version of you surfaced. Install the version you choose to become. Identity affirmation. Speak who you are becoming out loud daily. Not to convince, but to align. Words shape reality when they are felt as truth. Visualization and embodiment. See it. Feel it. Walk in it. Don't wait for evidence. Let your nervous system believe before the proof arrives. These practices are not tasks. They are portals. Each one reopens the channel between your current self and your highest intelligence. Now let's talk about surrender. Living from the superconscious doesn't mean you always know what's coming. It means you no longer need to. You trust the unfolding not because you know the map, but because you trust the signal guiding you. You stop clinging to outcomes and start following energy. You stop controlling every step and start responding to synchronicity. You let go of needing to be right. You start being real with what you feel, what you know, and what you're becoming. This is not a passive life. It's a powerful one, because it's guided not by fear of what could go wrong, but by alignment with what already wants to go right. And the superconscious is always ready to guide. You'll know it's speaking when the insight feels calm, when the answer appears in stillness, when the next step feels like remembering instead of struggling. You are not being given instructions. You are tuning into intelligence that was already inside you. You've done the work. You've remembered that your past doesn't define your future. You've learned how to shift patterns from the level of energy, not effort. You've accessed a mind beyond thought, a guidance beyond logic, and a power beyond fear. Now, the question is no longer, can I live from this place? The question is, will I choose to stay here? There will still be distractions, still be noise, still be moments where the old identity knocks. But now you know the difference. You know how to return. You know how to realign. You know how to lead your life from a higher intelligence. And most importantly, you know that you were never separate from it, only distracted. Now you remember. The journey isn't over. It's just beginning at a new level, where your thoughts are clear, your emotions are elevated, and your choices are guided by the most powerful force available to you, your own superconscious mind. And from here forward, reality is not something you wait for, it's something you create every single day. There's a vast